So Jorge Masvidal is now injured and his fight with Leon Edwards is cancelled, and now we need to figure out a bunch of different things, including, is Leon Edwards going to remain on the card? Also, if he does choose to remain on the card, who is going to be the replacement opponent for Jorge Masvidal from the welterweight division? There are a bunch of guys right now in the welterweight division calling Leon Edwards' name for that card. They want a piece of Leon Edwards because they know that is a title elimination bout in the welterweight division. And also, if there is a replacement opponent, what does that mean for the rest of the welterweight division? We're going to find that out in today's video. And one more thing, conspiracy thing here at the end. Did the UFC plan this intentionally? And we'll talk about that at the end of this video. Let's start straight away with the facts. So, ESPN comes out and announces that Masvidal is out of his UFC 269 fight with Edwards with undisclosed injuries. Let's get to the conspiracy straight away. Undisclosed injuries. Never a good sign. It's never a great sign when there's undisclosed injuries. Usually you kind of want to know what the problem is with someone when they do pull out of a fight. But I get it, they want to be discreet. The camp doesn't want to reveal anything. Maybe Masvidal had a knee injury and he doesn't want his next opponent to go out there and just completely stomp apart his knee in the first round. I understand there is some secrecy with injuries, but still, it would be nice to know a little bit more information here. Maybe there'll be more that comes out as the days go on, but maybe the UFC has pulled Masvidal off the card because I know that Colby Covington even requested that the UFC cancel that fight between Masvidal and Edwards and make him versus Jorge Masvidal on the 2022 season of The Ultimate Fighter. And can I just say, if this is a conspiracy theory and the UFC have planned this to make Masvidal versus Covington for The Ultimate Fighter coaches next year, I am absolutely okay with that, okay? As long as we can get Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington as Ultimate Fighter coaches, I'm happy. We need that show to be reinvigorated because the Ortega versus Volkanovski series was terrible and boring. Okay, let's just say it how it was. It was somewhat interesting because there were a couple of decent contenders on there that made it interesting, but Ortega and Volkanovski were quite possibly the worst choices of coaches, maybe aside from Whitaker and Gastelum, because of how nice they were, but they did have a little bit of beef back and forth. But we all know that Masvidal versus Covington on The Ultimate Fighter would completely reinvent that show the same way McGregor versus Faber did not too long ago. We need another burst of life into The Ultimate Fighter, and Masvidal versus Covington is the way to do that. So if the UFC did plan this, well planned, and I hope that it does happen. But let's move on to some other stuff that's happened. After Masvidal was pulled out of the fight, a bunch of different fighters have been calling out Leon Edwards, including Khamzat Chimaev, who immediately said to the UFC, or said to his manager, call UFC now, we travel tomorrow. I love Khamzat Chimaev. The savageness in this man, you got to respect it. You know, he's ready to step in against Leon Edwards. We'll travel tomorrow. Just get the fight signed. I don't care if it's on short notice. I'm a true fighter. I'll take on the number one guy. And it was a guy who he was scheduled to fight before as well. So I'm sure he already has a game plan for Leon Edwards. He wants that bout on short notice. And Leon Edwards versus Khamzat Chimaev would be absolutely amazing. And he also said, followed by a bunch of coffin emojis. After he said, we travel tomorrow, a bunch of coffin emojis, obviously assuming that he's going to destroy Leon Edwards and get his title shot. This might be a real quick way to get Khamzat Chimaev to the title in the welterweight division. A bunch of other guys have also called out Leon Edwards. Gilbert Burns even mentioned calling out Leon Edwards and said, hey, Leon, I'm ready to go. If you're ready to go, I know Gilbert Burns was looking for a fight in December. Now this one just opens up an opportunity for him. I think that's a better fight than Chimaev won. I know Chimaev has more respect and more hype right now in the welterweight division. Maybe not more respect, but more hype, most definitely, in the welterweight division right now and more buzz around his name. But in terms of rankings, Gilbert Burns is number 2. Leon Edwards is number 3. That would be the most logical title elimination bout there ever was, maybe in the welterweight division, and would declare a true number 1 contender to move above Colby Covington into the number 1 spot and take on Kamaru Usman next. Champion versus number 1. Perfect title fight. I like the idea of Gilbert Burns stepping in as well. Also, Bilal Muhammad called out Leon, but no one gives a fuck about Bilal Muhammad. Moving on to some other topics that have happened. Leon Edwards then responded to all of these call-outs and the fact that Masvidal pulled out of the fight and said, disappointed, but honestly, I knew this fraud didn't want to fight me anyway. He was just a stop-off on the way to the title. The goal remains the same. Much-needed family time. Now, Usman 84 kg, I'll see you soon. Now, it's the last sentences that I don't like there, okay? Much-needed family time now. I'll see you soon. Now, Leon Edwards, If I was Leon Edwards' family, I'd be like, hey dad, listen, fuck off out the house. You've been here for the past 2 years. You've fought twice in the past 3 years. Actually go to work for once. I bet his kids come home from school and think, Dad, what the fuck are you doing here? Ain't you a fucking top level UFC fighter? What are you doing here for 2 years? Didn't fight for 2 years, came back against Bilal Muhammad, then came back against Nate Diaz. That's it over the past 3 years, pretty much, for Leon Edwards. If I was his kids at home, I'd be like, listen, Dad, I know you want to spend time with us, but fuck off. We've seen you for 3 fucking straight years doing nothing at home. Now, Leon Edwards does want to take some time off. He wants to wait for his title shot against Usman, and I understand because he's wanted his title shot for so long. He wants to be the best in the world. But I do want to mention this. He will be passed up so fucking quickly for doing this because Dana White hates when fighters sit out and wait for title shots. And it works sometimes. In perfect scenarios, when there is no other clear-cut contender, it does sometimes work. But in a division right now like welterweight, with Chimaev coming up, and I know I said fuck Bilal Muhammad, but Bilal Muhammad's coming up as well, and Luque's there as well, and Gilbert Burns is on a 1-fight win streak and needs another one in the welterweight division to get a title shot back. There are so many guys that are eligible for title shots as well with 1 more win or 2 more wins. I don't think Edwards can afford to wait, and maybe Usman does take on Leon Edwards because he did mention in an interview after the fact that he beat Colby Covington in a rematch at UFC 268 that he said, Leon Edwards has earned a title shot, I want to fight Leon Edwards next. Of course, he assumed that Leon Edwards would go out and beat Jorge Masvidal and then take him on afterwards. But if Leon Edwards waits out on the sideline and Chimaev goes out there and beats Gilbert Burns in December in replacement of this fight, they're not giving the title shot to Leon Edwards. Who is his manager? Like, surely there should be some warning signs here for Leon. Like, listen, you dumb fuck. You're going to get passed over again. This didn't work the first time. It didn't work the fucking second time. Fight someone. They're taking a fight on short notice. If you truly believe that you can beat Kamaru Usman, why wouldn't you believe that you could also beat Gilbert Burns, a guy who lost to Kamaru Usman, on short notice, by the way, where he doesn't have a full training camp for you? I'm worried about Leon Edwards because he's going to have a bit of an emotional meltdown if he doesn't get a title shot next because it's all he's wanted his entire career and I can see him losing it because of waiting out. But if he does remain on the card, I believe Gilbert Burns is the best possible replacement. It's a better fight, in my opinion. Other than hype, it's a better fight sort of rankings-wise than the Jorge Masvidal fight. Number 2 versus number 3. The winner gets the number 1 spot over Covington, and then the winner takes on the title of Kamaru Usman. Champion versus number 1. Perfect scenario in the welterweight division. Now, the other scenario is Chimaev steps up and faces Leon Edwards, but that does leave Gilbert Burns in a weird situation as to only having Vicente Luque to take on next, really, right now. And they don't want to fight each other because they're best friends, so I understand that as well. So maybe not Chimaev. Bilal Muhammad called out Leon Edwards, but who fucking cares, really, about Bilal Muhammad? Looking forward to seeing what happens here. I reckon it'll be Gilbert Burns, if anything, if anyone steps in. I think if Leon Edwards wants to take on anyone in the welterweight division, he'll take on the highest ranked guy who's definitely going to get him a title shot because, you know, I don't know about you guys if you remember this, but there used to be a time in the UFC, about decades ago now, where title contenders used to have to beat someone in the top 5. I know it sounds crazy nowadays, but like title contenders, regardless of whatever fucking shitty streak they've been on of beating Brian Barbarinas of the world, and barely, by the way, because he almost got finished in that fight. Like, there used to be like a time where contenders had to beat a top 5 opponent, but Leon Edwards seems to want to earn his title shot by only fighting people outside the top 5 his entire career. He turns down Wonderboy, he turns down Gilbert Burns, turns down a multitude of other fights in his career, but is happy to accept a Nate Diaz bout, and is happy to accept a Bilal Muhammad fight, and is happy to accept a matchup with Jorge Masvidal, who's ranked below him in the rankings. It seems as though, and it really pisses me off that Leon Edwards does this shit, he only wants to fight people that are worse than him to get his title shot until he gets his title shot. I loved the days of the UFC where number 2 fought number 1 for a title shot, number 3 fought number 4 to decide who was going to fight the loser of number 2 versus number 1 for their title shots. Those were great days. But those aren't the days anymore. Leon Edwards sits out on the sideline with his historic win streak over names such as, I guess Luque is a good name to beat, don't get me wrong. RDA is also a good name to beat. There are good wins there. But they're no longer relevant other than Luque in the welterweight division right now. Gunnar Nelson, by split decision, is no longer a great name anymore. Donald Cerrone, welcome to the fucking club, and not even a club. Welcome to the horde of people that have beaten Donald Cerrone. It doesn't really stick out anymore as much as it did 5 years ago when you started your climb through the rankings. Now, I believe that Edwards is going to sit out on the sidelines. And I do actually believe, and there is some hope in my heart, that it could backfire. I believe they're going to make the Usman versus Edwards matchup anyway. I think Usman is going to want to do it. He's going to want to stay active, get back in there, maybe on Israel Adesanya's co-main event, because Adesanya's fighting in February, maybe on a March pay-per-view card that he can headline against Leon Edwards. But, like, I feel like Usman Edwards, too, is not really a needle mover for the UFC right now, so they might kind of go against that. And let's say if Chimaev jumps in there against Gilbert Burns in December and chokes him out in the first round and finishes him and screams, "Allahu Akbar, I kill everybody," including Kamaru Usman, by the way, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Usman. Then I think the UFC are going to go with Chimaev over Leon Edwards, and he's going to cry about it. But, like, real fighters step up. Burns is ready to step up on short notice to take you on. You've had a full training camp. You're not willing to take him on. You know what I mean? Luke Hay's willing to step up. He's looking for a fight in December right now. Chimaev is willing to step up. Tomorrow, he'll go over to the UFC tomorrow, wherever it is. Where's he flying to? Vegas, I guess. Wherever this fucking fight is. Chimaev's ready to get there tomorrow to be ready for this fight. All of the real fighters in the welterweight division really badly want this matchup right now, but not Leon Edwards, no. He can only earn a title shot by beating Nate Diaz, of course, which is just a stain. Nate Diaz is not ranked anywhere. It annoys me so much, but many different things to discuss. What does this do for the welterweight division? If Edwards sits out and gets the Usman matchup, I guess you do Burns versus Chimaev for a title shot, and then you do like Luke Hay versus Wonderboy 2. See if Luke Hay can redeem himself after Wonderboy beat him beforehand, not too long ago actually, a couple of fights ago in their careers. And then you would do Bilal Muhammad versus Neil Magny, and then that would sort out the welterweight division from there. But I do truly believe at the end of this, I really do believe this, the UFC plan to do this. Colby Covington mentioned The Ultimate Fighter, season whatever it'll be, I believe season 30, 2022, the big season 30, Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington, and I think the UFC realise that if Jorge Masvidal loses to Leon Edwards, there's no stock in him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you can lose 2 in a row if they're both to the champion, but if you start losing to Leon Edwards, the guy that you gave the free piece and the soda, and the guy that you made your bitch in the casual MMA fans' eyes, if you lose to that boring guy that almost got finished by Nate Diaz in the casual MMA fans' eyes, you're not going to have too much stock anymore, and you're also going to be way down the rankings, and Covington's still number 1 right now. So they can't really make that matchup there, and it wouldn't make as much sense. I feel like them making this fight not happen opens the opportunity to start booking and recording The Ultimate Fighter a little bit earlier next year. Maybe start the episodes in May rather than June, and we can get this going. Colby Covington, Jorge Masvidal on The Ultimate Fighter. It's all I care about. Usman versus Leon Edwards, Gilbert Burns versus Khamzat Chimaev, Vicente Luque versus Wonderboy 2, Bilal Muhammad versus Neil Magny, and then fucking, I don't know who fucking Mickey Gall takes on, but like that's the key aspects of the welterweight division anyway. Done? Capiche? Leon Edwards, don't fucking sit out and wait though. That's my main fucking piece of advice for you here, okay? Don't sit out and wait. You'll get passed over if Chimaev beats Burns, and you know you will, but you'll cry about it anyway. You get paid a lot of money. If you think you can beat Usman, and you think you're good enough to be a champion, why don't you think you're good enough to beat Gilbert Burns on 4 weeks fucking notice? It's sickening to me. Get in there. Fight like every other fighter does. Imagine Leon Edwards as a champion. I get it. Maybe he'd be different as a champion. He'd be willing to take more risks because he's earning more money. But still, the guy, like every other fighter typically, if their opponent falls out, give me whoever you got. I'll take him on. Leon Edwards, oh, is it not Nate Diaz? Oh, never mind then. I only take on unranked big names. Like, fight a top 5 guy and beat them. So I can tell if you can beat Kamaru Usman. If you fight Usman now, the last memory I have of you is being almost KO'd by fucking Journeyman and unranked in every division, Nate fucking Diaz, whose fucking record is catching up to the current year. No shit, it is. 20, I believe he's 20 and fucking 12, or 20 and 13. We'll soon be at 2021 with Nate Diaz's record. I don't understand. Get in there, fight Burns, earn a title shot legitly, and actually have some hype and some like questions. Oh, does he really beat Usman? People aren't going to think you beat Usman. He's going to be a massive favourite over you because you almost got KO'd by Nate Diaz, who, other than in the casual man's, other than in the casual fan's eyes, in the hardcore fan's eyes, we kind of realize Nate Diaz is absolute dog shit and trash. So, fucking hell, what a mess. And Leon Edwards just fucking ruins it again. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope Leon Edwards gets passed over and cut and goes to Bellator. I don't give a fuck. Go be with Fabian, you bitch. Click that button up there. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.